go live. And it says we are live on Facebook. So how exciting is that? Let me just change the scene so they can see both of us together. I love Fridays, Thursday Fridays. I love every day actually. But I especially love Fridays because I get to hang out with extraordinary human beings. And I'm so lucky that I'm blessed to be surrounded by extraordinary human beings, not only in my field and my community, but also in my team. And so it is my greatest pleasure and honor ding, 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 to shine a light on the epic Jenni Walkie. So Jenni is a content creator. She's an entrepreneur. She's done extraordinary things. So I'm going to let her explain everything that she does. She inspires others to have clarity and purpose around their business and their lives. And she does this with such epic heart and soul and passion. She's selfless in a way that is like truly extraordinary. And she's here with us. So cool. Coming all the way from Brisbane.
Yes.
Costa Rica. Hi, baby.
Hello, how are you, Martiene? Thank you so much. I'm a little bit kind of taken aback by that lovely introduction. That's kind of lovely.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well, you are lovely. You totally deserve a lovely introduction. So I'll try and keep my eyes on the comments so I can see who's here with us. And Bob says hi.
I can be in Brisbane and you're in Costa Rica. I just think that is like every day I go, how incredible is that we can talk from different sides of the planet?
So good. And the funny thing is at the moment, it's like, you know, we haven't been able to do these things. And everyone says to me, how did you get to Costa Rica? And I can't help myself. I'm like, in a plane.
True though. It's
in a plane. Yeah, because I think it's so foreign. Everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe, how do you get to do these things again? And I'm like, do you know, it's not that unusual. We've just been locked up for too long.
And I think we've just forgotten what it's like to travel. We've forgotten what it's like to explore and have that adventure because we have been in this kind of captive state for the last year and a half. And I think people are still kind of, it's almost like Stockholm Syndrome. It's like we've been in it so long, it's now just normal for us. So we now need to kind of reset and work out what actually normal is.
I love that you said that about the Stockholm Syndrome, because we think that we're being kept safe, and actually the world is existing outside of our like safe. Oh my God, we're so safe in Australia. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, there's no COVID, but on the flip side, like there's all these other things that are happening that are like super weird.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, I just think our attitude, and is also you have that balance of we're really hyper vigilant, and now we're kind of almost moving back to complacency, but still in this bubble. So it's actually changed the way we view. And I was talking to someone about the kind of act of sneezing. You know, a year ago, if someone sneezed, you would say, are you okay? Or Gesundheit, or bless you. And now people go, get away from me. Like this, it's changed the social norm about how we respond to people. And people haven't noticed those subtle changes. So that's what I'm fascinated about.
You know, it's fascinating, the subtle changes about how we interact with people, that we don't want to touch people, even, and that we're frightened to touch things. And I'm like, it's already been proven that you can't catch it by touching a door handle. So why is everyone like, you know, oh my God, I've got to wash my hands like a million times because I'm frightened to touch the door handle? Although to be fair, here in Costa Rica, so, you know, home in Australia, we have like the check-in app. You've got to check into somewhere with that. Here, you wash your hands when you go into a restaurant. So every restaurant has like hand washing at the front door.
Wow.
And they're like, wash your hands. So you wash your hands and you go to the restaurant, and when you leave, they're like, wash your hands. You wash your hands when you leave.
Wow. It's fascinating. So I think about going back as a kid, like it's that kind of almost, it's so apparent. I mean, we have to be vigilant, and I understand we have to, you know, look after ourselves and take care of ourselves, but there's that balance between the urban myths and the almost hypervigilance that creates panic and that kind of, you know, be alert, not alarmed type behavior, where we're starting to worry about and we start to lose that connection. And for me, physical connection is really important. Like I love doing Zoom and I love these connections, but when I have someone in the room with me and I get to kind of interact and see the body language and put my hand on them, or, you know, that kind of just tactile thing, it changes the interaction, particularly when we're diving deep into some really personal stuff around businesses or their challenges or there's things that they're struggling with. People like that connection. So I'm really, I find that really fascinating.
That's so true. And the thing is, I'm a hugger. So like I would walk, you've seen me do this. I walk into a room and I'm like, I'm a hugger. And in I come and people are like, but you announce it because they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, right? And so now, like it's proven that your like not physical contact, but like connection with people, social connection, emotional connection boosts your immune. It releases serotonin. It keeps us well. So why are we like not hugging our family? Cats. I'm a hugger. So yeah, we're huggers, right? And so
I do a dance about it now. I actually go to people and say, like, are we hugging? Are we elbowing? What are we doing? Like, it becomes like a bit of an icebreaker with people. And if people are like, no, I have to stand here. Like, there's a couple of companies that I work with, and their policy is that they cannot touch you. So they come up to you with their hands clasped in front of them or behind them. And their policy is a company policy is that you cannot shake hands, elbow, hug, do any physical interaction when they're representing the business. And it was so funny in this meeting we were so excited about connecting with this amazing woman, and she'd shared these beautiful stories about what she'd been doing in the company. And then she's standing there with her hands in front of her, kind of like, really sorry, can't actually even, can't even share.
Connect.
It was quite confronting to be part of that and go, well, how do we respond and how do we manage that? Because we talk about communication as always thinking about how it's being received and how other people, what are they, when we're talking to them, what are they hearing from us? How do they receive that? And we're always thinking about our impact on others. Yet we have this policy that isn't actually considering other people at all. It's actually entirely an internal kind of introspective view of I won't do this and damn everyone else around me. And I find that really interesting as a human behavioral kind of concept.
It is. It's really interesting because first of all, we don't have COVID in Australia, right? Like seriously, the numbers are so low, and the chances of community contracted COVID is so extraordinarily small for a business in Australia to not allow people to have that kind of connection. I think is off the chain, right?
It is off the chain.
It's
completely
just, I think they've all gone bonkers. And I didn't mean to have the COVID conversation with you.
But it's like some risk management person going, oh, look, the risk for this is high, so therefore this is what we need to do, and we need to have these global stands, and we need to have these kind of very strict policies. And I understand businesses needing that. But also we have to remember that businesses are run by people and that people need connection, and we work better when as you said, we perform better, we engage better, and we actually show up and are more present when we feel connection with other people. And so, I've got colleagues who do a lot of connection work and only do Zoom now, and they've actually loved the pivot to Zoom. And they actually are able to, and they've developed this really great process for them about sharing online and connecting through Zoom, which is phenomenal, and you can get such amazing connection. And particularly if you're mindful of your body language, and depending on how your camera is, you might get your whole person standing up, or you can get a little bit of that connection. But I think there is that piece that sometimes having someone in the room and feeling their presence and being in that space changes the dynamic and changes the way that you connect on a level that I don't know I think we haven't even really understood what we're missing out on yet, because we're focused so much on online connection.
Well, and so this is the piece, some people, and so many people at the moment are saying, I want to pivot online, right? I want to do this online thing. And I'm like, if you have an offline business, you're already in the right place, right? Because the online world is noisy. So if you have, like I have someone who wants me to help them take their retail store online, and they're like, oh my God, they're so far behind. I'm like, not at all. You have a real bricks and mortar business. You've been manufacturing products for like 20 years, and you have a loyal customer base. Taking your business online is super simple for you because you already have this brand identity. Building an identity online, which is what so many people are trying to do now without anything behind them, it's really challenging. And this is probably a great conversation for you, right? Because you're this person around connection, you help build businesses, you help people show up in powerful ways. And I know we've got Deb on the call at the moment, we've got Jenna, we've got Kat. We've got Bob, and some of these people are just in this like infancy stage of like, how do I get seen online, right? Because we're trying to shift to this online thing. And so I love the work that you, because you're all about people. So
Always. Yeah.
maybe it would be a good, always about people. You're all for the people, you're all for the connection. Maybe you could offer just, what are your top sort of insights for someone who wants to start like being seen online in a way that's really authentic and connected? What could you recommend for them?
It's such a great question. That question's actually giving me like a little goosebumps. I love that question. So it's a really, and in the coaching program I do, when I talk about content, one of the things that a lot of people are doing is they're following a cookie cutter model for how we show up and how we get visible online. And so what happens, it's like, what? So what happens is with this kind of mass, it's almost the mass production visibility plan, if you like, let's call it that. It's not the most eloquent, but let's call it that, where you basically show up everywhere, but it's always the same. And so what you're doing is you're actually trying to flood the market rather than show up in the market. And there's a real difference. It's like you can just kind of spam everybody online and be there, and eventually somebody will pick you up. But you actually will probably you'll polarize the market significantly. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's not. But the people I've been working with lately have been trying that for some time, and they're realizing they're losing connections. They're starting to actually, their engagement is decreasing, not increasing. So what we talk about is, the first thing is when we show up, do it your way. How do you want to show up online? So if you're a tactile person that wants to actually connect with people, and ordinarily you would go out and see 30 people a week and have face-to-face meetings and be really high touch face-to-face meetings, then you can show up online in the same way, but imagine they're just 30 individual meetings. So you're not wearing the same dress, and you're not wearing this, your hair's different and the earrings are different. So show up differently across the different platforms. And I think we forget that. We go, well, this post worked really well in this group, so I'm just going to flood the market with that post. But what happens is you only get one engagement from each person. So you're actually reducing your engagement. But if you had 5 posts instead of 30 that were different and targeted to each of those groups you wanted to talk to, you're going to actually build your engagement, and also you're going to share more about you. And then you can do the strategy behind that about reposting down the track. But at each point, don't flood with one post. Consider where you're posting. So in the same way that when we're talking like this, what is my intention for my post? Why do I want to share this information? And I think we forget that piece when we're on social media, about what are we trying to do with our content. It's not just about showing up. It's not just about, all the sprinkles. It's just choose the sprinkles you want, not just all of them. So does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. That's probably my
100%.
biggest one.
It's actually, well, and also it's perfect, because this week I started the week talking about, business is building relationships. Marketing is building relationships.
Yep.
The intention of connecting with people is to build a relationship.
100%.
And so on our call in the social startup group, and this month, there's always been about how do you create genuine connections, right?
Yep.
It's about not just doing the heart, spam, tick, double tap crap that we're all doing, but really look at post and look at that person and look at what that image is, and have a genuine reaction to it, as opposed to, I always go, that's epic content, post. It's like, hey, this made me think this, or I really love that imagery. Or in the words of Kat said, oh my God, you're making me hungry, because she's always looking at food stuff.
Yes.
So
yeah, but I love it. Sorry, there is a lag. That's the piece though. When we show up, it's that intention piece, because we often think we think about, so I guess the second point is, don't think about what you want to share, think about what people want to hear. So often on social media, it's all about how awesome the person posting is. So if I'm going to use first person, I'm awesome, I'm Jenny, I'm a coach, I can do this for you, look at me, look at me, look at me, and how great am I? No one gives a crap. No one cares how good I am. People care what I can do for them and how I'm going to help them. So what I need to show, what people need to show, is that I actually give a crap about them, that I'm actually interested in them. And so the posting and the information I share has to reflect that. And we often have it from a first person. So I always say, when we're writing content, think about who are you writing for, and what do you want them to feel, or what do they need to hear that day? So sometimes I'll post something that's really kind of, I think is pretty bland, but I go, I just kind of feel like this is something that I need to share today. And so I'll say that. I'll say, look, this is how I'm feeling, this happened, and this is what's going on in my life. And someone's like, That is exactly how I feel. Thank you for saying that out loud, because no one else does. So being that genuine person, but think about who and what you're sharing for, not just that you're awesome, you have great product, because you know what? Everybody can say that. Everybody does say that. And we need to say that, to promote. But we also need to be mindful about why does it matter that we're good at what we do? Why is anyone going to care?
Mm-hmm. I freaking love you. This is why we work together, because we think the same.
We
it's
totally
so
have
damn
that
cool.
But that's what right? Like, people think marketing is and excuse the French, my old boss used to call it shit and glitter. So it's like, it's the stuff that you sprinkle on everything else to make people, it's all shiny because people love shiny things. And so this idea that marketing is these shiny things, I think is such an old school mentality. It's that kind of Mad Men advertising view of what marketing is. Whereas what we're doing now is we actually, like, I talk about that I have high touch, heart-centered, deeply personal product. So I don't want to go fully online on my product. I know I could scale if I created an online program where I didn't speak to anyone and people just downloaded the webinars or the content. But that to me makes me want to just be like, oh my God, I can't do that. For me, it doesn't work. So I think the third thing when we talk about moving online is do what works for you. It's not about you doing what somebody else is doing and trying to mimic it. It's actually about saying, how do I want to structure my business? How do I want to show up online? What do I want people to, how does it fit to me? And then structure your marketing or your digital content or whatever you're doing around that. So for me, I don't want an online course. I started writing one 3 years ago and I got like halfway through it and it's like in a proverbial drawer going, do not touch that. Whereas for me, high touch live training every week, that's what I do. And that's comfortable to me. That feels good to me. And my clients resonate with that. So I'm okay with that. And I have all these people calling me going, oh, you know that you could scale your business. I don't really care. I'm happy because for me, it's enough. And so what's comfortable for me is what's going to resonate for other people. So I think about what you want and build that. It'll work if it's perfect. If it's perfect for you and it works for you and it works for the clients that you're working with now, that can scale for you. Does that make sense?
Well, it's 100% makes sense. So Kat was saying, so is it okay to have the ad hoc? I'm more of a in the moment poster, which 100% I believe it is, right? Because if we're talking about having these authentic relationships, which we are, and doing business our way, then this is perfect, right? That you post what you're feeling in the moment. You're posting what's coming up for you because it's coming up in the field. This is what I want to hack in the world, right? So here we are, we're building, more marketing that matters. And we're coming from a place of, I believe that we've all been, I believe we've been given a message and we weren't given that unless someone needed to hear it. Like, I just don't think that was created in whatever's out there, pulling all the strings together. I think if there's a message inside that's drawn for us to share, then there's someone who needs to hear it, right? And so I always like debunk the cookie cutter marketing, and I'm always like talking about, you've got to be authentically you in your space. Don't try and recreate the perfect post. Don't try and recreate this is what the marketers are doing. Just do the thing that is the natural thing for you. Yep. Don't try and be polished. Don't try and be professional. I'm still here in Costa Rica in bare feet in my activewear, the same as I was in Brisbane, the same as I was in Byron Bay and New Zealand, right? This is who we are. And so
go up like that.
You'll meet me. I look exactly like this. Angela's saying, oh, I want my teens tan. It's like, you have to come to Costa Rica, baby.
Yeah,
you don't
you do.
You want
I do not have the tan. I have the alternate moon glow that Martiene's beautiful tan. But on that point for Kat about ad hoc, working with you over the last sort of 6 months and just knowing you as we do, I love the strategies that you share, particularly around your Instagram feed. Because for me, and I have a distinction. So for me, my Instagram is curated. And I do that because I've learned that from you in terms of making sure and also that's all about me. So I can share in a captured moment or a captured scroll who I am. So it allows me to curate and be a little bit more kind of strategic about how I do Instagram. But Facebook, I post somewhere up to 40 posts a week on my own content across a number of groups. And my colleagues look at me and go, how do you do that? I'm like, well, I have 3 to 5 groups I post today, and I sit in the moment going, what do I feel like talking about today? What is, if my theme or my theme for the day is about education, or it's about inspiration, or for me, I use 5 topics. I have introduction, I have education, I have authority building, I have a testimonial or a review. And so each of the days I go, okay, what is my intention for that day? And then I post on what I feel about that day. And in fact, on Sunday, I think I wrote saying, you know, or Sunday or Monday, I was writing a post about distraction, saying, you know, even though I'm sitting here writing this post, how often are we present? You know, I'm writing this post to you thinking about what my next meeting looks like. So actually talking about the fact, and I couldn't have written that in advance because that's how I felt in the moment. So I think there's a balance between ad hoc to make sure that you can feel authentic and show up and share your true message. But then that can underlie with some planning around it. So there's balance, and structure actually gives you freedom. One of the big things I talk with my clients about, when you create a structure, you actually get more time and more freedom to be and show up how you want to be, because it actually, you don't have to think about what I need to do. It's just planned for you. It becomes a planful approach, not a rigid, not regimented, but just planful. And so be ad hoc within the plan.
I love it. And that's perfect. I love that. Again, we think the same thing. So you've got your Instagram feed, which is your curated feed. It's sort of like Kat said, it's a portfolio, 100%. It's a social proof of what we do. Here's what I do. This is what you need to know about me. But you can take something like a story and you can turn that into all the behind the scenes ad hoc. This is what I'm feeling. Oh, oops, look at monkeys, or whatever the thing is, right? This is where my head is at today. And so you can take that. Here's the element that I want to share that allows me to show up in a consistent, powerful way, because consistency is important, right? Definitely. But here's also other space that I can actually go and, you know, create whatever it is, or share whatever it is, or ask the questions that need to be asked in that space that will allow us to do the thing. And so I love that intentional piece. It's actually really interesting. I've always, week by week, I have a focus. This week, my focus was business is about relationships, marketing is relationships. So everything I've talked about this week has been in this space. Yeah. Because when I woke up, actually my Sunday is now my Monday. I'm getting used to the time thing. But when I woke up, I was like, right, what is the thing? What do I feel like I need to be talking about this week? What do I feel like I need to be sharing? And so, like, that's the thing. But I'm also going to that in a deeper level. So next month, I'm not there yet, but it's like, okay, what is the story I want to share in April? What do I want to be saying in April? How do I want to be connecting with people? What do I want to be, you know, helping people with? And so as I start to think about next month, I'm thinking about, you know, the context of what I'm going to talk about in my lives. It's all live. It comes in the moment, right? But I have the framework, at least, of I know I want to be talking about these things.
Yes. Well, I say to people the difference between, and you've got a number of people who are just starting into business and moving from what is essentially is that side hustle or that hobby or that kind of great idea into wanting to create a really strong and structured business. I say to my clients, the difference between a hobby and a business is systems and structure. That's all it is, and consistency. So we show up. So as a hobbyist, I can turn up when I want to. I can paint when I want to. I can make beads when I want to. I can make jewelry when I want to. I can do what I want when I want to. And if I don't turn up today, doesn't matter, because it's my hobby. And I can sell it if I want to, and I can not sell it. I can give it away. I'm not relying on it as an income. When you switch your mindset to a business, you need to be consistent. So the key difference is you need to show up at a particular time on a regular basis so people know that you're there. You have to deliver your service in a consistent way. And so what that requires is really good systems and structure that allows consistency and repeatability to go from a hobby to a business. And even if you look at an artist who paints amazing work, or a fiction writer, you look at some of the big fiction writers, they are consistent and repeatable in the way that they show up every day to write these amazing masterpieces or paint. But they've done this mindset from becoming a hobbyist or an amateur into this kind of professional. And I think it's Stephen Pressfield has a beautiful, I think it's Do the Work, Stephen Pressfield's book around Do the Work. And it talks about moving from amateur to professional and showing up to be repeatable and consistent. And I think that's the difference. You can still have flexibility. You can still be authentic. You can still be a little bit organic in how you approach it. But the key difference is the mindset around, I need to do this repeated and consistently so that people can find me and so I can deliver good work.
100%.
Yeah.
You had so many gold nuggets in there, but what I hear, right, is the shift from hobby to business.
Yep.
Because if we treated our business like a hobby, it will give us hobby results, right? So there's that piece about, yes, we're authentic, we're in flow, we're not cookie cutter, but we're also the driver of the reality of our business, right? And so that has set tangible targets and outcomes that we need to be delivering.
Yeah.
You know, for those who are using their business as a side hustle, you know, the side hustle means it's never a priority, right? Yeah. It's always your side hustle. In some ways, like cutting the cord, burning the bridges is probably the best thing to do, because then it becomes your priority. So if the business is the hobby, it's like, I really want to do this thing, but I don't have to, then the energy around that is different. Yeah. The other thing was that consistency piece. And so one of the reasons, and most of the people who are here, right, the reason why you're here is because, you know, I show up online every week at the same time.
Yep.
And even so, we've had Angela here, who she's in Scotland. She doesn't jump on very often because of the time difference, but she knows that I turn up every week at the same time, right? Yeah. And so it becomes very easy for people to go, oh, what's my team doing? Because she's showing up consistently. Now, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be in the moment. I wanted to just show up when I wanted to show up. I didn't want to do Facebook Lives and all the things, but that's not helped my business. And so sometimes there's that fine line of what do we want to do versus what is the thing that's going to give us the result.
But you're doing it your way. And what I love about the way that you've approached this process, and we've talked about this a number of times, is you're doing it your way. And so one of the things I like to share to people always talk about, well, I want to follow what the best things are doing and follow best practice. Best practice is only best practice for that particular company. So if you look at all the best practices in the world, they only work perfectly when the business or the person looks exactly the same as the conditions that best practice was created in. So if you're different, if you want to be different, if you don't have as much resources or as much time or the product is different, that best practice is probably not going to work the same for you as it did for them. So create your own version of that best practice and do what works for you. And if you do that, then you'll actually create a structure and a system in a business that you love, that you want to show up for, and you'll actually do better work because you become more present and engaged because you're not following someone else's rule book, you're creating your own. And so many people are scared to do that because they think they need, or they've been told that they need to follow cookie cutter programs. And, you know, we're coaches, Martiene. You and I, we've seen this before. And that's why I think we resonate, is because when we show up for our clients, it's in the moment and we're serving them in what they need then. We have an idea of a framework of how we want to serve them, but that will change subject to what we're doing. We're not prescriptive in how we coach necessarily. And I think that's the difference, is not being prescriptive about who you are is actually what makes you unique and what makes you stand out. And when people show up online and you're doing things a bit quirky and a little bit different, then people are like, oh, I want to watch that because that's different. That's new. And I love that.
Super cool. I love you. You're awesome. So I know that you have a bunch of different, I haven't even asked you any questions, but you've just gone on this, and this is welcome to Martiene's world. We just go on tangents.
I love it. I love a good tangent.
Yeah. But I know you're working on a bunch of things at the moment. Yeah. So why don't you share with us, what are you working on at the moment?
So I've got a couple of main things for my coaching. So I do some consulting work and I also do some coaching work. So my coaching work is where my passion and my heart really kind of shines and my eyes light up when I think about it. I have two coaching programs. One is around business structure and strategy, and one is about content. So one is looking at about creating the structures and systems to drive your business for long-term success. And the other one is for people who are kind of have a little bit of structure and systems in place and they just don't know what their voice is. So how to find their voice, share their voice. And we actually combine those two into what I call the BOM. So the Business Owners Mastermind, and it's a 6-month coaching program and a 3-day retreat. And I love that it's called the BOM. So that's about as cool as I get, is calling it the BOM. And that runs, we have a retreat every 3 to 4 months, and that sits at the back of the 6-month coaching program. So that's my favorite thing, because we spend 3 days in person, in beautiful accommodation, you know, with amazing food and amazing people. And we talk about business, we talk about life, we talk about who they want to be, where they want to go, what they want to do with their lives and their work. And we get to unpack and repack up a business. So that's kind of my favorite piece of work that I do. And that's the I guess, where people can really deep dive and grow their business, whether you're starting out or whether you've been in business 10 years and just need to pivot. And that's what the programs do.
Super cool. And if someone wanted to get in contact with you over that, how would they do that?
The best way is probably the easiest way is if you go through my socials. It's at Elephant in the Room AU. So at Elephant in the Room AU on Facebook and Insta. LinkedIn is also the same. Reach out to me. I'm Jenny with an I and Walk with an E. If you want to find me as my personal page, reach out, connect with me, and let's just have a chat.
Yay. Now, I always love, when I get to this point, it's like, what is the thing that's inside you that you feel drawn to be sharing with those who are still here or watching this later?
Ooh. I've been writing this a lot lately, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And I think the one thing is about and I've had an up and down week with the work I'm doing and some of the consulting work I'm doing. But I think the one thing that drives me every day is to go, doesn't matter what's happening around you. It could be, the greatest day. It could be the worst day, what's happening around you. But if we constantly come back to that heart-centered piece of what lights you up in the morning, what makes you excited about who you are, that is what people want to know about. They don't really care necessarily about the results that you have, how much money you make, what car you drive, or even where you're living. What they want to know is what lights you up in the morning and what drives your passion and that burning piece inside you. And if you share that, and you share that often, and you share that in different ways and show that vulnerability, people will resonate. And I just think that's something that I've learned in the last probably 3 to 6 months, because I was very closed off. I used to be because it's never been about me, always been about my clients. So I never shared about me. And I've started to do that. And when people see the vulnerability about where my story is and where I've come from, they actually go, crap, it's not all sunshines and roses. Bad things happen, and it's okay. So that, to me, I think is really important for anybody who wants to start a business, share a business, become, grow their business online, is be okay with being vulnerable and sharing who you are, because that's what people want to see.
I love it. You're so
that's
awesome.
Really, that's just come to me. I hope that's all right. I hope that serves people listening.
It will. Otherwise, you wouldn't have brought it forward. That's like the energetics of this.
Yeah.
I love it. You're epic. And I'm glad that we get to do this, and we should do it again.
So happy. Yeah, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I can't believe it's already 8 o'clock, or half an hour. Like, that's just gone so quickly. It's what happens when we get together. It's like time kind of slows and just stuff happens.
And we need to do it again. Off the line. Not that there's anything here for anyone that I don't want anyone to hear, because I've got no secrets. I'm an open book. But
same. And I'll answer any question you want to answer.
Epic. I know you've got another meeting in like just a few minutes. Okay. So we are so grateful to have you in our field, in our community, and our team, in our group. I'm just so freaking excited for the work that you do. People need you, and I just love everything about you. You fucking rock. Oops, I got the F-bomb.
Thank you. I have the same feeling about you. I mean, I think we're kindred spirits now across the world, but I feel like we have that same sense of idea and purpose, and I think our vision and pathway are very aligned. So that's why this is so much fun, and how it's been such a pleasure chatting to you today. Like, I'm just it's been awesome.
So good. Let's do it again.
Have an awesome day. Thank you, everybody who's been listening. I hope that's really helpful. If anybody wants to chat, reach out. I love a good chat.
She does, and you should definitely do that. She's epic. All right, bye, beautiful lady. Have a beautiful Friday, and I will see you on the flip side.
Enjoy your Thursday. Bye.
Okay, bye.